Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be on this planet. Welcome to another edition of Football Picks here on TalkingSports.tv at Charlie Fitz Whiskey's, the finest tap and eatery I know of. This is an outstanding place. Come and join us here in Vaughan, Ontario. And even one of the owners, this guy right here to my right, Handsome Howard Kamen, he will personally come over to you, say hello to you, and maybe even buy you a drink, right?
I'll even give him a winner on the weekend. So
there you go. You can't get better than that.
That's the best as you can get.
We're reuniting here. We've been away one at a time, but here we are, all back at Charlie Fitz Whiskey's, the good, the bad, and the good, and the good.
The ugly.
And, no, Uncle Ben, of course, from UncleBenFootball.com. I'm Marty York. This, of course,
it actually has nothing to do
mentioned,
with what our face looks like. It's how good-looking our picks are.
That's right.
You can have an ugly face, but pick a good winner. It's all about the picks.
Handsome Howard came. And before we get into the picks per se, and I know all of you are eager to find out what Uncle Ben and Handsome Howard are thinking about Week 10 in the NFL and also about our college football games, a whole bunch of them of interest this weekend. And, of course, Ben, as you can see on his website, UncleBenFootball.com, he's a master at NCAA picks. But before we get into that, let's talk about a couple of big stories that occurred in the NFL in the last few days, the last week or so. I was in Miami last week, Ben and Howard, and the Jonathan Martin story was prominent at that point. I was there for that win that the Dolphins had on a safety in overtime against the Bengals. It was a heck of a game, and not many people were talking about Jonathan Martin at that point. They didn't really seem to care that he had walked out on the team. But, of course, the story behind the story started to come out on the weekend. It really hit the newspapers and the media airwaves this week, and it was revealed that Jonathan Martin felt as though he were harassed by his fellow line mate, Richie Incognito, a veteran who was quoted as saying some pretty nasty things to Jonathan Martin in some texts, and they were released by the Dolphins and by the NFL. And as you all know by now, Incognito is suspended indefinitely, and the word is he will not be back with the Dolphins and perhaps not ever in the NFL again. This is a guy who's a pretty decent offensive lineman, a veteran who's been around. Martin, more of a younger guy. And guys, I don't know about you, but I'm hearing mixed stories about this whole incident. And some people like Ryan Tannehill, the quarterback of the Dolphins, taking Incognito's side on this, saying, that the Dolphins had asked Incognito to put Martin under his wing and sort of train him and tutor him and mentor him. And Ben, I mean, this is common in the NFL. This stuff happens. Martin felt that he was harassed to the point where he ended up in the hospital with emotional distress. Who's right here?
Look, Marty, there's no place for this in the game. I mean, granted, this has been going on for many, many, many years in all sports of any kind. But there's no place for this in the NFL or any sports league, in my opinion. Tannehill, it's a fraternity. These guys are in a fraternity. They protect each other. I understand that, okay? I used to play a few sports, even in high school when you're with your buddies in the locker room, guys. You protect your teammates. But when he starts throwing around the N-word around the NFL, and, look, I own a business, and you own a business, Howard. You start doing things, talking to your employees like that, you're going to get in trouble, okay? And
rightly so.
And rightly so. So I just don't see any different here. Just because they're big, strapping athletes making millions of dollars doesn't exclude them or put them above the law in any way. And I just think that this thing's, was taken way out of hand. They covered it up last weekend in the NFL. They don't like to release these things, the NFL, on the weekend when the games are taking place. But Monday morning, the shit hit the fan, excuse my language. And this thing, all hell broke loose down in Miami, like you said.
And it has broken loose, and it's continuing. But players, not only Tannehill, guys, other players, Hartline, for instance, the veteran receiver, he came out and he said that he didn't feel that Incognito did anything wrong to Martin, that maybe Martin is ultra-sensitive, but that Incognito was trying to toughen Martin up as the Dolphins had asked him to do. Now, did he go overboard? Obviously, the Dolphins think he did. But there are players on that team, rightly or wrongly, Howard, who think that the club and the league has taken the wrong measures in this case by getting rid of Incognito. What kind of effect does that have on the Dolphins, who go into try to break 500? They're at 4-4 right now. They go into Tampa Bay on Monday night. They're a 1-point favorite in Tampa Bay against the winless Bucks. What kind of effect does this have on the Dolphins?
Well, first of all, I agree 100% with Ben, and I disagree 100% with all these guys going to Incognito's rescue. I think the guy's a scumbag. I think if you look at his, you know what? If it happened once, you can excuse the guy. If it happened twice, maybe. But this guy has a history of just total stupidity amongst his teammates, amongst what he says. And I just think the guy's a moron. He's a scumbag. And in this particular case, I come to Martin's rescue because you know what? There's ways to handle things. There's ways to approach people. There's ways to say things. If this guy is a sensitive guy, you got to know that ahead of time and use a little bit of judgment on how you
I agree
react
with
to it.
Howard. You got to know when to call the dogs off.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
and funny thing is, that,
Even
I
though
mean, Howard and I have a personal friendship, okay? And I've told him about things I'm sensitive about. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, you got to
And he
know
just
who you're
he
dealing
just
with.
backs up.
Yeah, you got to show a little bit of common sense. And listen, in any sports team, there's going to be guys that encourage other. But you know what? As a coach myself, I know certain kids you can be rough with, and certain kids you got to be the compassionate side.
right.
And that's where I think this guy stepped out of line. As far as the way the team's going to react to it, I mean, the guy is a good football player. The guy is a solid.
lineman.
So it is going to hurt the team that he's not in the lineup. Will it give the team a little bit of a freedom that he's not there? They don't have to hear all his crap all the time. That might be a positive thing. I personally think that overall, having a guy like that off the team in the long run will benefit the Miami Dolphins. That's my personal
All right, but who do you take Monday night with the Dolphins
Well,
favorite by one in Tampa?
that's a tough game because Miami definitely looks like they look good in that game. But at one point, like we always talk about, it's a sucker's bet. They're trying to trap the Miami action. Tampa Bay played a good game against Seattle last week. They probably gave them everything they got. Are they going to have anything left Monday night against the Dolphins? I mean, personally, if I had to bet that game, and I wouldn't, I'd probably still take the Miami Dolphins there.
Ben.
Well, the Miami Dolphins are not a good football team, in my opinion. They're just not. I mean, last Thursday night, sure, they did well in the first half, but that's their MO. And in the second half, this team just folds. Mike Sherman cannot bring this offense along in the second half. They seem to get these 17-3 leads, 14-point leads, and they just sit on the ball. And, you know, it comes back to haunt them because their defense it's okay, but it's not that good.
And if you're not going to have your best offensive lineman to help you protect that lead, I mean, Tannehill could have a rough night against Tampa.
Well, I never like to bet against 0-anything teams, you know? Because 0-anything teams are trying hard. They don't want to be 0-anything. They want to be 1-anything, not 0-anything. So I have a difficult time. Now, the spread's a little fishy there. Okay, you've got an 0-8 team playing a 4-4 team. Granted, the 4-4 team's got a bit of turmoil. But you're talking about an 0-8 team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now. Last week they did have their chance to win 21-0 in the first half. They were beating the Seattle Seahawks outright, and they still lost that ball game. And they scored 24 points in that game. They had only scored 89. I mean, it's very hard to pick a team in the Monday night. I mean, I don't really like the game like Howard says. If I had to pick someone, you know, I might go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week to get their first win.
Yeah, I don't like the game either, guys. I really don't think it's going to be a very entertaining game. I think it's a clunker for Monday night. But if I had to go with something, I would take Tampa because I think that this is the Bucs Super Bowl.
I agree.
They're on Monday night.
This is their big game on Monday night.
Yeah, they're going to be pumped up.
You know, playing their in-state rival, right? So you could be right there, Marty.
Is their running back Martin expected to be back?
No,
or is he still
doesn't
out?
appear to be.
No. Okay.
All right, let's talk about another big story that's been happening in the last week. It actually happened during the Sunday night game when the Green Bay Packers Monday night game, I apologize. When the Green Bay Packers were playing and against the Chicago Bears, and Aaron Rodgers, arguably the best player, with all due respect to Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and Drew Brees, it could be Aaron Rodgers, who may be the best quarterback in the NFL. Certainly means a great deal to that team, the Green Bay Packers. He gets hurt early in the game, and then the Packers are forced to bring in their backup. Their only backup, Seneca Wallace, the former Seattle guy. He was good in college. I bet you remember him when he was in college.
Yeah,
Iowa State.
Yeah.
He was good, but he hasn't really proven to be a good NFL quarterback. To me, he should be in the CFL.
Good, Marty.
No, he's
not even close.
He's too short. He doesn't have a great arm. I mean, they were knocking ball down. The Bears end up emerging victorious in this game outright. The Packers looked lost without Aaron Rodgers. This week, guys, Green Bay plays Philly, and I guess they're a 1-point favorite from what I gather here. And the Packers against Philly will have to start Seneca Wallace. I'll jump in. Who wants to go first? I mean, is there a chance in this game?
I gotta say one thing. I've never seen a team drop off so quickly at one position as Green Bay did Monday night by losing Rodgers and putting Wallace in. And I kind of have to blame a little bit the Green Bay organization because, you know what, nowadays a starting quarterback is always susceptible to injury.
Of course, and more so than ever.
I mean, you're in an interdivisional game against a team that you're playing for first place with, and you got to throw a pile of you-know-what quarterback, Seneca Wallace out there, who, even in the CFL, this guy doesn't have the arm. This guy does not belong to be playing in the NFL. The drop-off was incredible, and, I mean, any team would have beat Green Bay that night with this guy in the line. The only reason Green Bay even kept it close was because their running game showed a little bit of spark there with Lacey. But as far as the guy throwing the ball, this guy's a disaster. I can't see this guy doing anything this week either. I have no confidence in Seneca Wallace as a quarterback. I can't see how Green Bay is going to win with this guy quarterbacking the team. Packers
by 1, Ben. What do you think?
Well, here's what I think. First of all, the Packers picked up, Matt Flynn was 2 years ago. He played the one game, the last game of the season. He scored like 48 points. He signed a big contract with Seattle, right? Never got the chance because they drafted Russell Wilson. Then he went to Oakland, never got the chance there either. He got dropped by the he got picked up by the Bills. He got dropped by the Bills on Monday. The Packers picked him up Monday afternoon. I'm not saying this guy's going to start because they're saying Seneca Wallace is going to start, but I got a feeling, okay, that Matt Flynn might be starting this ballgame on Sunday because he knows that playbook from a couple of years back. And I think with Matt Flynn, they got a chance. You know, they're going to simplify the game plan, okay? Philadelphia's coming off a huge victory last week. They scored 49 points. Don't look for Nick Foles. Like, if you're in a fantasy football league this week, I wouldn't play Nick Foles if I was you. He maybe blew his load a little bit last week against
Oakland. Yeah.
Okay, and you know, the Green Bay Packers will adjust their whole game plan now, right? It won't be the freewheeling offense anymore. It won't be the quick pace. They're going to be huddling it up. They're going to be slowing the game down. They're going to be playing more ball control.
Yeah, and keep the ball out of Philly's hands.
Well, correct. And they're going to change their game plan. And Matt Flynn's a capable quarterback, in my opinion. And I don't know if he's going to start, but I think he's going to see some action in this ball game because I don't think Seneca Wallace is going to take up to the promised land.
I agree with you, Ben. I got to tell you why. If you recall, when Flynn came in for one of the few games that Rodgers got to sit out is because they already had the division well in hand.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
And Flynn came in, just dominated. His numbers were unbelievable, which is why he got the big contract.
That's what I said.
I'm going to ask you guys a question, though.
But I do think Flynn's a capable quarterback. I just don't think he's had a real good chance yet.
What do you think of the Green Bay Packers getting on the phone and calling Brett Favre? You laugh, right? The guy's 44 years old. But, I mean, if anybody knows the Green Bay thing, and Brett Favre at 20% is better than these goats.
Well,
Seneca Wallace.
Rodgers is going to be at 4 to 6 weeks, they said. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great PR move.
They're in tough right now. The Green Bay Packers are in tough. You know, they're playing in a tough division. It's a three-way tie for the top now in that division. You know, Detroit's playing a little better ball this year. Packers are going to get Cutler back either this Sunday possibly or next week for sure. They're in tough. There's no question.
They got to get a quarterback. They got to find a quarterback.
The more I think about what you're asking, the more I think it would make sense for a lot of reasons. However, it will never happen, and the reason is very simple. Brett Favre became extremely aggravated, very, very upset with Ted Thompson, the general manager of the Packers. He publicly lambasted him for what went on there when they really did the right thing and moved him out and put Rodgers in. That's all they did. Rodgers had served his time. It was a great move by the Packers. Rodgers on the bench for 2 or 3 years. Favre was really on the other side of the hill. The St. Louis Rams called Favre the other day and asked him to come back.
Well, he's not going to go to a team like St. Louis, but to go to a championship team like Green Bay where he has one more chance.
That would be intriguing. Wouldn't that be intriguing?
It would be the greatest story
ever. It's a great
ever.
idea, but it's not going to happen simply because the way Thompson and Favre parted ways.
Anything's possible, though.
Well, it would take Obama to go in there and have a peace treaty.
I'd love to see it. It would be a great sports story.
It would.
It would be. So let's just reiterate. Do we take Green Bay guys this week against Philly? At home,
I think
1 point favorite?
I think it depends who starts. Seneca Wallace is the starting quarterback. I can't touch Green Bay.
So you would take Philly if you had to?
I would stay off the game, but I wouldn't
yeah.
take Green Bay with Wallace quartering. No chance. Not
You know what? I like the Green Bay Packers to win this game before they go out on the road. They lost last week at home. Granted, we know the situation. We just talked about it. But I just think the Green Bay Packers are going to get it done this week somehow.
So do
whether
I.
it's Seneca Wallace or Matt Flynn. I like the Packers at home not to lose 2 in a row. The spread's going to be, somewhere not very much. The winner of this game will cover the spread. It's going to be a pick or a 1 point or 2 point spread, most likely.
It's 1 point.
I like the Pack at home.
My sentiments exactly. And look, Seneca Wallace gets all the reps this week. He will have a better idea of what he's doing. Don't forget, as bad as this guy is, he didn't have a chance because he came in late to training camp, and he was the only guy that he never took a rep in any practice. Now he knows he's starting. He's not that horrible.
Right. To take a line from Handsome Howard, you're never as good as you look, and you're never as bad as
he can't look as bad as he did Monday.
He cannot look that bad.
That's for sure. Take Green Bay, lay the point. It's still the Packers, and they're still at home. Let's take a break now. When we return, guys, we're going to talk about a couple of head coaches. We don't see this very often, but 2 head coaches taken to hospital.
Very often.
And we'll see how their absences affect their teams. We'll get your thoughts about that when we return here on Football Picks at TalkingSports.tv at Charlie Fitz Whiskies. Don't go away.